sent from above, growing carrot love. Blessings sent from above, growing carrot love.
Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to Growing with Donnie. I am so excited to be in this new year, y'all. 2022. Happy New Year. I hope that y'all had a really, really good, happy, exciting, love-filled holiday. I made it through. It's 2022, boo. And I'm excited to be here with a new video for y'all. So, I gotta come clean. Y'all. I tore out my cucumber and squash plant from my AeroGarden. I know, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I'm sorry, okay? I'm impatient. I can be impatient. So basically today what I'm gonna do is break down for you what happened, why I tore it out, what went right, and what went wrong with my squash plant and my cucumber plant in my AeroGarden. So for those of you who don't know, first of all, welcome. I'm Donnie, and this is my indoor garden space. I will be doing a new tour for all of you guys who have been following me for a while of what my indoor space looks like now, because it is quite different, as you can see. I'm really excited to have a new little spot for filming, a new little setup as well, so stay tuned for that. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to this video if you like the video and this content, but also hit that notification bell so that you know when I come back and I'm doing the tour, as well as when I set my goals and intentions for my garden for 2022. So there's some videos coming up, so just keep an eye out, set that notification so that your phone tells you like, hey girl, hey boo, Donnie uploaded a new video, okay? All right, so anyway, let's get into it. Here's what happened. Like I said, I'm impatient. But first, before we talk about what went wrong, let's talk about what went right, okay? So I'm just gonna grab my little notebook so that I don't miss anything. So what went right? If you guys are familiar at all with the AeroGarden brand, you know that each AeroGarden typically comes with a few packets of seeds. It comes with a little basket, as well as the little core pods that you put the seed in, and the seeds, as well as the nutrients, some liquid nutrients for your plants. So that nutrient mixture is really good for non-fruiting plants. I would say that it is fantastic for anything that is like an herb, any sort of just straight up leafy brassica. I wouldn't say like broccoli, or cauliflower or cabbage, anything flowering in that way. But think of like your mustard greens and your spinach or lettuce, not a brassica, but you know what I mean. So leafy greens in that way. Great for salad bowls and herbs and things like that. What it is not good for is flowers and fruiting plants. Now, can you achieve a tomato or a cucumber or whatever with that liquid nutrient mixture? Yes, I did. I also did. As you guys will know, and if you don't, I'll put it up in the cards for you guys to see, or whichever side that pops up on. I'll put it in the cards for you guys to click into, but I did harvest a huge cucumber from my AeroGarden in my last video. It was like 12 ounces. It was a big mama, okay? But I wasn't able to get a lot of cucumbers. I got a lot of flowers. I got a lot of foliage. The plant was huge, as well as my squash plant, right? But to not get a lot of fruit. Now, a lot of people would say, don't you need bees for flowering and fruiting plants? Yeah, typically, but you can also hand pollinate. And I was very much on top of hand pollinating my plants. I would check on them every day, make sure that my water levels were up to par, that they weren't like drinking everything in the reservoir and then having nothing left, as well as checking for any pests or anything. I am growing inside, but going in and out between my balcony garden and my indoor garden, things travel with you on your clothes, on your hands, and your gloves, whatever, your tools. So you have to be careful and make sure that you're keeping an eye out for that. So I would check for pests, I would check the water, and make sure that they had the nutrients, as well as check for flowers to see if I need to do any hand pollinating that day. So I was able to successfully hand pollinate. I would see some of the fruits swell up like they were about to form a fruit, and then they would shrivel up and fizzle out. And that's really discouraging. That's not very fun to see. And I was trying to figure out what it was that my plant was missing. So I not only saw that on the cucumber, but I was actually getting a lot of flowers on my cucumber, regardless of if the fruit was actually producing. On the squash plant, it was not. So I was able to successfully get flowers, but it was really tough getting a male and a female flower at the same time. So if you're new to growing, a male flower is literally just that. It's a flower, and it is what you use to pollinate the female flower. And I'll try to insert a little clip in here so you can kind of see the difference. But the male flower has no fruit behind it, and the female flower, you can see it. There's like a little baby version of whatever you're growing, whether that be a squash or a cucumber or a little watermelon. You can see it right behind the flower, right? So that's how you know what the female flower looks like. And you'll take the male flower, open it up basically, and brush it into the center of the female flower. That's how you hand pollinate, right? And I was doing that, did it successfully, and then some of the fruit just would not grow. So, before we get into the rest of the details, I want to say the other things that did go well. My calendula didn't completely fizzle out, although it was shaded by the larger plants. It's actually growing like crazy now, and I have had a few open flowers, although there aren't any right now, but it is exploding, and it's kind of taken over almost this whole AeroGarden surface. There's a few plants in that one growing from that one pod, so I'm not surprised, but I'm really excited about that. And my habanero pepper plant is flourishing. I think I will have a nice sturdy plant ready for the spring, if I don't get flowers and fruit before then, which hopefully I don't. I kind of want it to hold off until I can get it outside. But either way, it's flourishing. They're both doing great. I also think that my trellising system, it was, I wouldn't say haphazard, but I found this like cheap version of like, it wasn't chicken wire, but it's like a more bendy, flexible version of what you see people use as like that as cattle panel. It was just small. I literally found it on the side of the street, y'all, on my way to work one morning. And I smashed it up, I cleaned it off, and I cut it into a couple pieces so that I could use it inside behind my Aero garden as a trellis for my cucumber. And that worked really well. I didn't have to like clip it or anything. I basically just guided the cucumber towards the trellis, and it grabbed on naturally like they normally do because they like to climb. and it was totally fine. So I'm really excited about that. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, duh. So I actually successfully grew cucumbers. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but I did grow two, not just the one that you guys saw me harvest. The one you saw me harvest was definitely the bigger one. And while I was tearing out all the plants from my AeroGarden, taking it off the trellis and cleaning everything up, I found another cucumber. Had I seen that other cucumber, I probably would not have torn it all out. But I found another cucumber. It was only about yay big. But to be honest with you, I think I left the bigger one on the plant too long. The flavor just wasn't as strong or cucumbery. The skin was a little bit tougher. It just wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite, and it could be the variety as well. But I think I just left it on the plant too long because the little one was popping. Loved it. It was so good. I definitely think if I wanted to make pickles, like if I wanted to pickle them, those would have been really, really good pickles. So anyway, those are all the positives. Those are the things that went right with my AeroGarden experiment growing the Space Master cucumber. I didn't tell you guys what the varieties were. Space Master cucumber and the Peter Pan patty pan squash. So what went wrong? I do think that trying to grow two heavy feeder, well, they weren't very large varieties. They were smaller, like more dwarf size plants, supposedly, right? But I think because they were both heavy feeders and they're both like pretty big size plants, that growing them both in the same AeroGarden can cause some competition for the space in for the root growth in the water reservoir because it's only so big, right? But also competition for nutrients. So maybe don't grow those types of things together. They did start out in separate AeroGardens, but my other AeroGarden is not big enough for a plant that big. That's just what it boils down to. So I put them in the same one just to see what I could grow, but I think there was too much competition for space and nutrients to have them both in the same AeroGarden. Maybe if I trim their roots, which I've seen a couple videos on and may potentially try at some point, but maybe if I had trimmed their roots and got a better handle on the nutrients that they needed, it would have been better. I don't really know. So fertilizing. I know what my plants needed more of are calcium and magnesium, which like I said, the AeroGarden fertilizer is very nitrogen heavy, which promotes like beautiful, healthy green leaves, right? But it does not support your plant in producing fruit or strong, healthy roots or anything like that, right? So the AeroGarden nutrient liquid is great for leafy greens and herbs and things like that, but it does not have enough potassium. It does not have enough magnesium or calcium in order to grow beautiful, prosperous fruits. I feel, like I said, I have successfully done it before with tomatoes, a small variety of cherry tomatoes, but nothing else yet so far other than leafy greens. So I would say that next time around I would look for a better fertilizer to combine either with the AeroGarden one that I already have, or completely switch my nutrient feeding regimen and product type. That's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm still doing a little bit of research, and I did use some of this Black Magic Bloom Boost when I was having trouble with my squash plant giving me male flowers and female flowers at the same time, right? But it did help push more flowers out, but it did not help with actually forming fruit that was edible. What else? Like I said before, my calendula was shaded out by the other two bigger plants. It's flourishing now that it's by itself, but when it was in there with the other plants, it was completely stunted and so small and just had no room, no light, no nothing to grow, the poor thing. So, if I'm gonna grow two big plants like that in my AeroGarden, maybe make that's it. And being impatient. Have some patience, y'all. Gardening is not for impatient people, okay? And sometimes I get fed up, and when you have a limited amount of space and you only have, one AeroGarden or whatever, sometimes you're ready for the next project. Like, okay, I see what's going wrong with this. I know what it needs. I don't have the resources to make it right now. I want to just start over. And that's okay. Sometimes you gotta start from scratch, and that's what I'm gonna do. So that's what's next for me in my AeroGarden experience and experiments. I am going to try the squash plant again because number one, I really want to try squash leaves. Because did you guys know that the leaves on a squash plant are edible? The leaves on the Peter Pan squash have this peppery smell. They smell amazing, and I just feel that they would be so delicious. So delicious. So I really, really want to try them, and I really want to try the squash. I wouldn't grow it for nothing, right? So I'm going to try to grow that again. I'm going to try keeping up with my calendula and my habanero plant. I don't know if you can even see it. The calendula is the habanero's on this side. This is it right here, but you can barely tell because of that crazy calendula. But anyway, I'm going to try to keep up with growing both of those, harvesting and saving my calendula plant for medicinal use. I really want to try my hand at making a salve, however you say it. So yeah, that is what is next for me in my AeroGarden adventures. I also know that so many of you have gotten an AeroGarden now, and I love it. I'm so excited to see your adventures and your experiments and what you're growing in your AeroGarden. So hey, leave me a comment below. Tell me a little bit more about what you're growing. Do you have questions about your AeroGarden? Let's learn it together. I am really, really excited to see more of you venturing into indoor gardening and hydroponics as well. And I'm excited to keep learning and growing myself. So let's do it together, y'all. So yeah, until next time, thank you so much for coming by and checking out my video. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell and like this video if you like the you like the content. And if you want to keep up with what I'm putting out next as far as, my continuation on my AeroGarden adventures, as well as my goals and intentions for my garden for 2022. So yeah, thanks you guys. I appreciate you coming by and hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the next video.